Alex wiped his sweaty forehead with the back of his oily hand, leaving a smudge he didn't notice. The Lagos sun was relentless, beating down on his small roadside mechanic workshop. Around him, cars honked loudly, and the noise of bustling pedestrians filled the humid afternoon air. His workshop was modest, just a wooden shack covered with rusty zinc roofing. Tools lay scattered around, greasy and worn from constant use. Despite his simple appearance, Alex had a gentle manner that set him apart. He always wore faded shirts and trousers stained with oil and grease, along with worn-out sandals that had seen better days. Most of his customers were wealthy and impatient, barely acknowledging him except to criticize his work or appearance. "Alex, are you not finished yet?" Catherine's sharp voice rang out, slicing through his concentration. Catherine was a regular customer, known throughout Lagos for her expensive taste and flashy lifestyle. Today, she had brought in her latest luxury car, a gleaming white Mercedes-Benz, and had been standing impatiently under the shade of an umbrella, tapping her high-heeled shoes impatiently. "Almost finished, madam?" Alex replied calmly, tightening a bolt carefully. He stood up slowly, his back aching slightly from crouching over for too long. Catherine moved closer, inspecting her car suspiciously. Suddenly, she gasped dramatically. "Alex, what have you done? Look at this stain!" She pointed accusingly at a small grease smudge on the driver's door, her face twisted with exaggerated disgust. Alex's heart sank. He quickly grabbed a clean rag, apologizing sincerely. "I'm so sorry, madam. Let me clean it right away." But Catherine wasn't going to let it go easily. "You're sorry? You think sorry is enough? Look at your clothes. Look at this place. I don't even know why I bother coming here. Poor, dirty mechanic." People nearby stopped to watch, whispering and chuckling softly as Catherine continued her rant. Alex felt his cheeks burn, embarrassment washing over him. Still, he remained calm, quietly cleaning the small stain. "Honestly, Alex, it's people like you who make Lagos look bad," Catherine said loudly, ensuring everyone around heard her clearly. "I don't even understand how you live like this." The watching crowd laughed openly now, joining Catherine's humiliation of Alex. But Alex said nothing in response, silently finishing his cleaning and stepping back. "It's clean now, madam," he said softly, his eyes downcast but his voice steady. Catherine rolled her eyes dramatically, handing him a few notes carelessly. "Don't expect me to come back any time soon." She snapped before sliding into her luxurious car, slamming the door dramatically and driving off with a screech. The gathered crowd dispersed, laughing and mocking Alex openly. He watched them quietly, the humiliation heavy in his heart. He was used to this kind of treatment, but somehow today felt worse. When everyone had finally left, Alex sighed deeply, cleaning up his tools and locking the workshop. He walked slowly toward his small apartment down the road, deep in thought. He smiled sadly to himself, thinking about how much people judged based solely on appearance and status. "If only they knew," he whispered softly, shaking his head gently. He reached his apartment, a simple but neat space, and closed the door quietly behind him. As he sat down at the small wooden table, Alex pulled out a photograph from a drawer. It showed a handsome young man dressed sharply in an expensive suit, surrounded by powerful businessmen and women. A younger Alex smiled confidently from the center of the photo. "If only they knew," he repeated quietly, placing the photo back into the drawer carefully. As night fell over Lagos, Alex lay awake in his small bed, thinking about the life he had left behind, and the secret he was determined to keep hidden. The next morning, the sun rose slowly over the busy streets of Lagos. At the same workshop, Alex was already at work, covered in grease before the day even began properly. He had just rolled out from under a Toyota Corolla when he heard a soft, polite voice behind him. "Excuse me, please. Is this where I can fix my car?" Alex stood up, wiping his hands on a cloth. In front of him stood a young woman, probably in her late 20s, wearing a simple but clean gown and flat shoes. Her brown skin glowed under the sun, and her hair was packed neatly into a puff. She looked unsure but kind. "Yes, Ma. How can I help you?" Alex asked with a small smile. "My car is acting funny. It's making noise whenever I press the brake. It's an old Corolla," she said, glancing toward the dusty car parked nearby. Alex nodded. "No problem, Ma. I'll take a look." She smiled, clearly relieved. "Thank you. I'm Sophia, by the way." "Nice to meet you, Sophia. I'm Alex." As Alex got to work, Sophia stood nearby watching him with curiosity. Unlike others, she didn't look at him like he was beneath her. She asked questions, made gentle jokes, and even offered to buy him a cold drink from the kiosk down the road. Alex was surprised by how comfortable he felt talking to her. Most customers came, gave instructions, and left. But Sophia stayed. She laughed when a gust of wind blew his rag off his shoulder. She crouched beside him when he showed her the worn brake pads. She even thanked him properly when he explained what needed to be fixed. "I really appreciate your honesty, Alex. Most mechanics would just say something big is wrong to collect more money." Alex smiled, feeling seen for the first time in a long while. "I just try to do the right thing." Sophia nodded, then reached into her handbag. "I don't have much, but I hope this will cover it." Alex looked at the money she offered. It wasn't enough, but he shook his head gently. "Don't worry. Just bring the rest when you can." Sophia stared at him. "You're serious?" "Yes. It's not always about the money." Touched, Sophia smiled brightly. "Thank you, Alex. I'll bring lunch tomorrow to say thank you properly." The next day, true to her word, she brought jollof rice and plantain in a small cooler. Alex was shocked but grateful. They ate together under the tree beside the workshop, chatting like old friends. Word began to spread in the area about the beautiful teacher always visiting the poor mechanic. Some mocked, others just watched curiously. Catherine, in particular, didn't hide her disgust. One afternoon, Catherine drove by and stopped abruptly. She stepped out of her car and walked straight up to them. "So this is what you're doing now, Alex? Flirting with local teachers to feel important?" Sophia looked up, startled. Alex stood up slowly. "Please, Madam Catherine, show some respect." Catherine scoffed. "Respect? For you? And this one?" Sophia stood calmly. "I don't think you have any right to speak to us like that." Catherine rolled her eyes, hissed loudly, and stormed off. Alex looked at Sophia, embarrassed, but she smiled. "Don't mind her. I know who you are, Alex, and I see the kind of person you are, too." Alex looked at her, touched. For a moment, he wondered if he had finally met someone who could love him for who he truly was, not for his money, or his name, or his background. But he wasn't ready to tell her everything. Not yet. He just smiled back and said, "Let me check that car of yours again. I think it deserves a little extra care." They both laughed as the Lagos sun dipped gently behind the rooftops. Weeks passed, and Alex and Sophia grew closer. She often visited the workshop after school, sometimes just to say hello, other times bringing small gifts, fruits, snacks, or local food. To the world, it looked like a poor mechanic and a humble teacher becoming friends. But to Alex, it was more than that. He was beginning to feel something deeper, something that scared him because it was real. One breezy Thursday afternoon, Sophia arrived wearing a pale yellow dress and holding a folder of student papers. Her smile lit up the street, and even the other mechanics couldn't help but admire her simplicity and grace. You're becoming a regular customer, Alex joked as he wiped his hands and welcomed her. Well, my car loves this place now, she teased, laughing. They sat beneath the same mango tree beside the workshop. Sophia shared her lunch, and Alex talked about the old cars he loved working on. They laughed together, teased each other gently, and for the first time in a long while, Alex felt peace. But not everyone was happy. Rumors had started again, this time louder and crueler. She's wasting her time on that broke mechanic. He can't even afford good shoes. Maybe he's using jazz. How else will a teacher fall for a man like that? Alex heard the whispers. So did Sophia, but she never stopped coming. One evening, after a long day, Sophia asked, Alex, why do you work so hard in this place? I mean, with your mind, your calm way of doing things, you could be somewhere better. Alex hesitated, looking at her. For a moment, he wanted to tell her everything, but something held him back. I guess I just like to keep things simple, he replied softly. Sophia nodded, though she knew there was more. Then came the invitation. A popular Lagos business magazine announced a major gala event, the Benson Group unveiling. Meet the new CEO. It was to be a night of glamour, wealth, and powerful connections. Catherine, as usual, was among those invited. She made sure everyone around knew she was attending. 2 days before the event, Alex handed Sophia a cream-colored envelope. What's this? She asked. An invitation. I'd like you to come. Sophia opened it and blinked in surprise. Alex, this says it's from the Benson Group. Isn't this a billionaire company? How did you get an invitation to this kind of place? Alex simply smiled. Let's just say, it's important to me that you're there. She studied his face. There was something behind his calm smile, a quiet storm she couldn't explain, but she nodded. Okay, I'll come. The night of the gala arrived. Sophia wore a simple but elegant long gown. Her hair was styled neatly, and she looked beautiful in the soft lights of the venue. She entered the luxurious hotel ballroom feeling out of place. Everywhere she turned, there were men in sharp tuxedos, women in expensive dresses, and photographers snapping away. She looked for Alex, but didn't see him. Suddenly, the lights dimmed. A spotlight shone on the grand stage, and a well-dressed announcer took the mic. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us tonight for this historic moment. Please welcome the new CEO of Benson Group, Mr. Alexander Benson. Applause erupted. Cameras flashed. Catherine leaned forward excitedly, but then silence. Because the man who walked on stage wasn't some stranger. It was Alex. In a custom black tuxedo, confident and calm, Alex walked up to the mic. The same Alex who wore oily shirts and sandals at the roadside workshop. Gasps echoed through the hall. Catherine nearly choked on her wine. Sophia stood frozen. Alex looked out into the crowd, and his eyes found Sophia's by Dacian. He smiled gently and said, I know many of you know me by a different name, but today I want to speak as both the new CEO and the man who's learned more in a roadside workshop than in any boardroom. The room was dead silent, every eye on him. Sophia's heart raced. Everything around her felt like a dream. The poor mechanic was a billionaire, and she had no idea. The applause faded slowly. The room remained quiet, filled with shock and confusion. Catherine, whose mouth had been open in surprise, slowly lowered her wineglass. The guests whispered among themselves, staring at Alex as if they had seen a ghost. Sophia stood rooted to the spot. She felt as though the ground beneath her feet had shifted. The Alex she knew, the kind, humble mechanic, was now standing in front of a crowd as a billionaire CEO. Alex continued his speech, his voice steady but full of emotion. I chose to live simply, to step away from the titles and the wealth. I needed to learn about people, about trust, and most importantly, about love. Some clapped. Some looked confused. Catherine, however, looked furious. She turned to her friend and whispered, "He tricked all of us. Pretending to be poor? For what?" But Sophia wasn't thinking about Catherine. Her eyes stayed on Alex. Her heart pounded in her chest. She didn't know whether to feel proud, betrayed, or just stunned. After the speech, people rushed to speak with Alex. Big names in the business world, journalists, even politicians, all eager to shake his hand and take pictures. But Alex scanned the room until his eyes met Sophia's again. He walked past the crowd, heading straight for her. "Hi," he said gently. Sophia took a breath. "Hi. Can we talk?" She nodded slowly. He led her out to a quieter balcony overlooking the city lights. The night breeze was cool, and for a moment they both said nothing. "I wanted to tell you many times," Alex began, looking out at the skyline. "But I was scared you'd treat me differently, that everyone would." Sophia folded her arms, not in anger, but in deep thought. "You lied, Alex. Not just to me, to everyone." He nodded. "Yes, I did. And I'm sorry. I've seen too much fake love. People pretending, smiling because of money. I needed to know who really cared." She looked at him, her voice softer now. "And you think testing people like that is fair?" "Maybe not," he admitted. "But it helped me find you." Silence. "You've been kind, real, and honest from the very beginning." He continued. "When others mocked me, you stood by me. You brought me food, laughter, and peace. I didn't want to lose that." Sophia's expression softened. "So all this time, you've been Alexander Benson?" "Yes. But when I'm with you, I just want to be Alex, the man who listens to your stories and fixes your old car." Sophia smiled a little. "That car really needs fixing again, by the way." They both laughed lightly, the tension easing. Inside the hall, Catherine fumed. She marched up to Alex's assistant, Daniel. "Tell him I need to speak with him. Urgently." Daniel, loyal and firm, shook his head. "He's busy right now." "Busy with who? That teacher? She has no class, no pedigree." "But she has heart," Daniel replied calmly. "And that's something money can't buy." Catherine hissed and turned away in frustration. Back on the balcony, Alex looked into Sophia's eyes. "I'm not asking you to forgive me tonight. I just hope you'll understand why I did what I did. And maybe, when you're ready, we can start again. Honestly this time." Sophia didn't reply immediately. She looked at him, at the city, at her own heart. Then she reached for his hand. "Let's see where it goes, Alex. But no more secrets." Alex smiled, relief washing over him. No more secrets. They stood quietly, side by side, as the city lights flickered like stars. The poor mechanic was gone, but the man she had come to care for, he was still right there beside her. In the days that followed the gala, Alex stayed out of the spotlight. Reporters kept calling. Headlines flashed his photo across social media. "The mechanic billionaire. Alexander Benson's secret life revealed." Everyone wanted an interview. Some praised him, others criticized him. But Alex didn't care much for either. What mattered to him was Sophia. They still talked every day. Sometimes she called to check on him. Sometimes he just showed up with snacks and a quiet smile. But even with their laughter and comfort, Alex knew he had to do more. One sunny Saturday, he stood outside Sophia's school just as the pupils were being dismissed. She was surprised to see him waiting under the mango tree with a small bouquet of sunflowers. "You look different," she said playfully. No oil stains today, he replied, grinning. They walked together down the road. Alex shared his thoughts. I've been thinking a lot lately about how I used to see people, how easy it was to trust appearances, and how wrong I was. Sophia nodded. We all wear masks sometimes, but it's what's behind them that really counts. Alex smiled. You taught me that. A few weeks later, Alex invited Sophia to visit one of the Benson Group charity projects, a vocational center for underprivileged youths. The building was still under renovation. When they arrived, children played in the dusty yard while a few workers laid blocks and painted walls. Sophia looked around, her eyes wide. What is this place? We're calling it Hope Workshop. It's going to train young people in mechanic work, tailoring, carpentry, the same skills that gave me a second chance. She looked at him with admiration. That's amazing. I want you to be part of it, Alex added. I want you to help manage the education program, create a space where kids can learn both skills and values. Sophia blinked, touched. Me? There's no one better, he said softly. You believed in me when I was just that poor mechanic. Now I want us to believe in others together. Sophia agreed, and the project began to take shape quickly. Over the next few months, the two of them worked side by side, turning the once abandoned building into a lively, colorful training ground. The laughter of children replaced the silence. Young boys and girls learned skills they never thought they could. Meanwhile, Catherine faded into the background. Her circle slowly closed in, and her reputation for pride and cruelty began to cost her. She never returned to Alex's life, and he never missed her presence. Then, on a quiet evening, beneath the same mango tree where Sophia first brought her old car, Alex knelt down with a small ring box in his hand. Sophia, he began, his voice steady. When I was lost and searching, you found me. Not for what I had, but for who I was. I want to spend my life proving you were right. Will you marry me? Tears filled Sophia's eyes. She nodded slowly. Yes, Alex. 1,000 times, yes. Their wedding was simple but full of joy. Children from the center sang songs. The community came out in numbers, not to see the billionaire, but to celebrate the man who never forgot where he came from. Alex and Sophia spent their honeymoon in a quiet town in Cross River. No cameras, no media, just peace, laughter, and love. Months later, they launched a foundation, the Benson Sophia Trust, which funded scholarships, built schools, and supported small business startups in low-income areas. And in all of this, Alex never stopped fixing cars. He still kept a small workshop behind their new house. He said it reminded him of who he truly was. And every now and then, when the Lego sun got too hot, he'd walk inside the house with grease on his shirt, and Sophia would laugh and say, "My billionaire mechanic." Because in the end, love didn't find him in the boardroom. It found him in a dusty workshop, under a mango tree, with a woman who saw past the grease and into his heart.